What's up guys, it's Michael here. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're gonna discuss about the top 5 jobs currently in America, ranging from back to 2019, before the pandemic, and analyzing the ones all the way up to now, the current pandemic in 2021. So we're gonna look about what's the difference between the two. Based on analytics, both of them they haven't really fluctuated too much, but mainly during the pandemic, they mainly move into the medical field and the technical field because more people are now at home, they need more computers, so you need more IT guys. In the medical field, as usual with the pandemic, more medical jobs are now required. So the reason why I'm making this video is to analyze the type of growth to see whether or not it's even worth it to get in this field. So the whole point of this channel is financial freedom. So you look at it in this job growth market. So if you get into a job and you say, oh, there's a lot of job growth. Yeah, meaning that you can get a job, but at the same time is your pay gonna be raised? How much can it be raised? And whether or not that type of raise allows you to branch out. So if you want to become like a business owner or like an entrepreneur for your business, and you have to see where the job allows you to, because it's based on restrictions. Your job can basically provide you a lot of restrictions whether or not you can do this yourself or you have to be working under someone else. So the main point, the reason why you have to analyze what type of field you get into is because it dictates at the end what type of lifestyle you want to live. Do you want to live when you work every day, or you want to live when you only work sometimes and you make barely enough or just enough you feel comfortable, or you want to take it to the point where you can basically live off your investments based on your job. We were not going to include investments in this video is because investments is a whole new topic, and that will not really pertain to the job because investments can be done in any level of income bracket. But job wise, since a lot of people are dedicating their lives with the current situation, putting everything on the line to get this degree, so might as well, analyze it and see whether or not where you like to do it or not. And people will be asking this question, what's the point? What's the point of even caring if, top 5 jobs or not? I'm just there to grab money. But the reason why I'll tell you why it's important to analyze your job, or whether or not the type of the growth you're looking for is whether or not you can break out the median of the income bracket. So instead of being capped whatever list that this article I'm going to provide to you says, you want to break out of that. You want to be out of the norm. And the reason why is I'll show you over there. The reason why job growth is important is because it gives you an opportunity to escape the financial rat race and to get things that you want without even questioning about it. It basically gives you the ability to have the option. For example, like this. If you think about it, I'm only 25 years old. I can get anything I want because I have finally escaped the financial rat race, and I want to share ideas, tips, and tricks that will help you out and let you select jobs. If you don't want to be an entrepreneur, you can always have the ability to go take that route, even you are currently working. So that is the reason why you want to have an opportunity. Your job is to give you options. So analyzing all these websites, so based on what I'm looking at, it's based on 2021's data and 2019's data on the top 100 jobs in market. But first we're gonna pick the top 5 because there's way too many. And based on my understanding, looking at these top 5, this is basically, they're just trying to tell you whether or not, how much you pay, how easy it is to get in, and whether or not, the growth. That means how many jobs are offered. What I am trying to analyze and portray to you guys, the audience, is to smash that like button down below and hit the subscribe button where you're at it too. But being serious here is whether or not that you can be the unique one out of the whole entire group of people selecting this job. So we're gonna break it down. We're gonna go down the list. So the first one, most of these websites are pretty similar, is a PA, physician assistant. So the median salary based on America back in 2021, which is right now, is $112,000 because it makes sense during the pandemic. There's a lot of people. And based on the U.S. News Money article, they're saying projecting at 39,000 jobs. Great. So if you get in, great. Be making an average of 112. Here's a catch right here. Your education you need is a master's degree. So after you go to college, you have your 4 years. The next, you have to get into the program, which requires a lot of subsidies and other things you have to do that are not even mentioned on here. Then you have a limited number of seats. The reason why they have a limited number of seats is because it's the cap off how many people can get this type of degree, which I find it pretty ridiculous. Why just go to entrepreneur route? So it's to kick off the people who are there for the money and looking for people who are really, doing this as their job to help people. And most people I can understand. The reason why they cap it out because, money talks. Universities, they need to make money and they work with the hospitals. That's why they cap it off. But it's not surprising. First one, physician assistant. So basically looking at it, a physician assistant, you have to work under a supervisor, meaning a doctor. You gotta work under another doctor. So whether or not you can scale, because a physician assistant, just like doctor, lawyer, tech, IT, there's many groups and categories of it. So we're only gonna break down the ones that they list out the most important. So PA, you're looking at it, physician assistant, you don't really have any growth. I mean, at this point, when you become a PA, you gotta look at which category you want to be in. You want to work in an emergency room, which you see a lot of people getting shot, a lot of people coming in. It's a high stress. Some people say it's easy. To tell whether or not you like the job, my suggestion is to go volunteer and go in and do the actual work. Shadow another physician and see and ask their opinions and see it in person. That's how you tell. Whatever it say, or you're listening to me, you can't tell until you do it. Having experience is the best way to learn. So back to topic, whether this job as a physician assistant has potential for growth. Because at the end, the whole goal is to live the lifestyle. To live the lifestyle is to have options to say no when you don't want to work and yes when you want to work. And you want to have the job to basically grow to the point where you don't have to work anymore and the people work for you and money comes in. As for this, out of a scale 1 to 5, I give this a 1. Because there's no way for you to grow on here. You always have to be working under someone else because based on this niche, as a doctor's assistant, you have to work under someone else. As for the salary, you will not be breaking over 6 figures. I'll say around the low 100Ks to a mid 150Ks, maybe the really specialty PAs, physician assistants, might hit the 200K mark, but other than that, that's it. And also, you can think about it. It's a high stress job. People, even they say it's easy, it really depends on the person. Some person might say it's easy, and some people might think it's hard. So that, if you're looking that to become a businessman or grow from that job, it's not for you. Then the next one they list, which this one's more in the tech category, is a software developer. So it's more of an IT area. People be sitting on top. You think about it, you'll be sitting in front of a computer all day, be creating software for other big corporations. And I'm not really too familiar in this area, but based on my understanding and knowing a few friends that do into software, they do have an opportunity, a way better opportunity than the first top ranking job. This is ranking number 2. They can develop their own software and make their own business. So I've ranked it out of 1 to 5, whether this is scalable to become, break out of the median salary out where everyone else is making. I'll give this, I'll say around between a 3.5 to a 4. Because there are certain limitations because you have to compete with the market when it comes to software development. And education, way better than the first one, is only a bachelor's. So 4 years, you get the degree, you're done. And the average median salary, $107,000 a year, pretty good. And the projected jobs compared to first one, this one is 316,000. So that is a big number on how many people are going to get hired within a certain amount of span of time that they listed. That's pretty good, not bad. Compared to the first one, whether you like it or not, depends on you. So the third is an NP, a nurse practitioner. So based on US News, they said you need a master's degree. So NP, what it is a nurse, a registered nurse, but the next level, the next step ahead. So this one requires a master's degree. A master's degree requires another additional 2 years. So just like a PA, a nurse practitioner and a physician assistant is pretty much identical to the point where, either or can't go wrong. And just like a physician assistant, a nurse practitioner doesn't really have too many options, sadly. Base salary, you make They make $109,000 a year with a projected job growth of $110,000 a year thanks to the pandemic, most likely, based on this data. Whether or not is right for you, or whether you can grow to the point that it becomes another type of business, it's pretty low. I give this one like a PA about a 1. Yes, you can, hire other nurses work underneath you, but you're still pretty much limited in what you can do as a nurse practitioner. This is mainly pertaining to the medical field, because the medical field is really regulated to the point where you have to be, following certain rules, certain instructions. If you want to expand, you think about it. You have to market to other people. How's that going to work? So the fourth one is a medical and health service manager. This one is really interesting, how they listed one of the top 5 jobs in currently 2021. So first, unlike the first two, the first number 1 and 3, you only need a bachelor's degree. And they make $100,000 a year for projected job growth of 133,000 jobs projected. So you look at what do? They basically manage services and medical financials getting around that area pertaining to topic. But which is pretty interesting, because based on the article I'm looking at right now, they basically kind of manage how the group of doctors come together, how services work together, which is very interesting. It kind of gives you a background sense how to get all the aspects working together. And whether this job growth, it really depends on this person, whether how much high demand, how much people are looking for. Where it can grow or not, this one's a lot more hard to say, because this person in this particular job is to manage a system. And whether or not the market really requires, it really depends on what you can do. But say I'll probably give this around between a 2 and a 3 for growth rate, potentially to grow out the rat race to the point where you don't have to work anymore without including investments as a job. So not bad, not super good, but it's still there as an option. And for number 5, this is what majority of people always trying to strive for, because how superstition works. A lot of people choose that doctors, lawyers, all the high-end paying jobs because you don't lose your job, etc. is the way to go. So this is not surprising that number 5 is a physician, meaning a doctor. This one, I say, is way more controversial than you think, because this one's even more difficult than becoming a physician assistant or a nurse practitioner. So to even get in, like the first 2, it's a limited amount of seats, meaning they're going to give out only a certain amount of seats, usually going from public universities to private universities, about 36 seats. And the reason why it's so limited, to the point it's pretty ridiculous, and they complain they don't have enough doctors, but they still limit the amount of seats, is because, like I said, money talks. And if there's more doctors, and that means they're going to drive down their profits. So the money will go lower and how much they have to pay doctors. So to become a physician, based on this, you need a doctorate degree. They pay an average of $206,000 a year, and that is only at a general doctor level. And they're projected to be 18,500 jobs within the certain amount of span growth that the U.S. News article mentioned. So based on my perspective looking at it, it requires a doctorate degree. So this is pretty insane, because first, get your bachelor's, that's 4 years. And next, you got to get into the program, which requires a ton of prerequisites, are not even mentioned in this article. If you look at prerequisites, it's pretty crazy. It requires at least, I'd say, a minimum of 2 years of all these extra stuff. And once you get in, it's another 4 years of study. Then you have another 3 years residency. So residency is basically you working for basically half your pay. And you're basically working technically like a part-time job or kind of slash volunteer, depending which college you go to, what university, what benefits they give out. It really fluctuates from there. But what it's more depressing is after that 7 years, you're finally a physician. And you have to think about it. You have to pay tuition too. So besides, completing all the prerequisites, you got to go through the number of seats. You have to challenge all those people to get that one seat out of how many to have, usually 36 or lower. And once you get in, you got to spend at minimum 7 years. You have to survive for 7 years. That's nearly a decade. If you want to go any more specialized than that, it goes around from 3 years to all the way up to 5 years. So you're looking around a decade to 11 years to 12 years. So you got to think about it. So if you think about it, if you're 22, you just finished your college degree, and let's say you're one of the lucky ones. You finish all the prerequisites and you got in. You sign up, you got in. And once you got in, at 22, you have a minimum of 7 years. So 7 years. Assume that you paid the tuition, average between 25 to 50,000 per year. So that goes on top of your bill, and plus you're not working because you got to study all the time. Then you're ending up at minimum getting out at 29, and that's assuming you get in at 22. So if you want to go specialize from there, because I have friends and family that go and specialize and are making now $800,000 a year as a radiologist, but now he's almost 40. So assuming you are on track, get on from there, get out. So you're looking at least minimum you're at 29. If you go specialize, you can go all the way up to 34 years old. And like I said, as I mentioned in my other videos before, life changes. So meaning that if like halfway, so you think about it, from the age of 20, some early 20s, and you're getting out at like basically early 30s, maybe even mid and late 30s, depending when you get in. You're even almost hitting the 40s. You got people almost hitting the 40-year mark. It's a really huge dedication just to make this amount of money only. So if you're looking at for a financial sense, this does not make sense because you have all that time to do something else, build other business and growth. And the average business usually takes about 3 years to see where you financially succeed or not, or whether it works. So and now you got to look at, does it have the opportunity to grow and scale to the point where it becomes, entrepreneur, becomes a business? So as a physician, you're pretty much limited within your around the surrounding area. Yes, there's ways to market to go around that, but it's pretty niche. It's the growth rate of it is just really, condensed. It's like, yeah, if you go as a general physician, then yeah, you can be within your area, become a general doctor, help other people, make around $200,000 a year as a general practitioner. Gotta handle all the patient stuff, but that's 7 years. Then you have to pay out your tuition. Let's assume it's between 25 to 50 grand a year. And you have 7 years of that you got to pay off. Think about it. That's a lot of money, and you have to pay your taxes too. And like I said, life happens. So what happens? You have a family by then. Gotta pay that off too. So I say, given how job growth and whether this can be scalable to the point where you don't have to work anymore, I'll probably give this more of a 3, a solid 3. It's better than a physician assistant, nurse practitioner, but it's not better than an IT software developer, because IT software developer is need a bachelor's and you're off good to go. And whether or not I succeed, it really depends on where that person with that degree wants to take it to. Because personally, looking at these top 5 jobs, whether or not it will make you, happy in life, that really depends on what you're looking for. Most people watching this channel, you're looking for smashing the like button down below and clicking the subscribe button. But on real sense is to basically have investments and money working for you. But in this video, we're going to exclude investments because investments can be done in any bracket. But the job, also, you always want to see your income growing up. If you see it going stagnant, or some cases unlikely going down, then the job isn't right for you. So a lot of people argue saying like, yeah, having a stable job is the right way to go. But if you think about it, there are times you're under the mercy who you are working for. So if you're not an owner, you're under mercy any time of the day. If you have to take crap from other people, you have a chance of getting fired instead of being an owner. But if you're an owner, you get to make that decision whether or not you want to continue this. If something goes wrong, you have to take a responsibility. At the end, it's whether you want to take a responsibility or not. So if you take responsibility, then become the owner. And for the job growth, taking responsibility and becoming an owner is dictating where you can escape to the point, make so much money to the point where you don't have to worry about anything. Basically, you can have options. The reason why I'm analyzing the top 5 jobs and whether or not they're even good to be picked or actually considered jobs. So you gotta think about this is jobs, meaning you'll be working for someone. And what I broke down here is whether or not it's scalable, meaning whatever set income, median income they set right here, can you go past that limit? Can you go past to the point where, let's say a doctor is making between $200,000 and $800,000 a year. Can you take that, whatever they list, and literally multiply that times 2, times 3, or maybe like 0.5. So instead of making, $800,000 a year, why don't you start your own business? And it's impossible to do it because under the certain circumstances and the law, if you can't, then go for it. If you can make more than that, then you just use that to break out the norm. The whole point is to look at these jobs and whether or not this jobs allow you to break out the norm. So these are the top 5 currently in U.S. news. And on the next video, we'll analyze another top 5 jobs that they list and see whether or not is even worthy to spend your time and effort to study for it and get the degree for it. And also, we'll be looking at the top 5 worst jobs. So there are a lot of good jobs and worst jobs. But in reality, and you look at it in the end, most of the time, some of the good jobs and some of the worst jobs can actually outperform all the ones listed because they're really based on whether or not it has the flexibility for it to grow. At the end, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time on my channel. Peace.